So, some of you may know that in one of my many previous existences in my past, I spent some time in the music business, some time doing A&R, some time actually as a writer, songwriter, and also some time as a music journalist. And there's one thing I'll say about songs, which is really interesting, is that you write a song, we help create a song, and obviously you work on it until you think it's finished. And with some songs, it might take 6 months, even a year, before you realize to yourself some part of it that you could have improved, some part of it that could have been better. So it's kind of frustrating because, you think, oh yeah, the song was made and the song was finished. Now, especially if you're working on a song for an artist and he's actually going to release this song, the song might have been created, written, recorded, released, and then 6 months later, you're like, you know what? You know what would have made that better, or you know what would have improved that bridge, or you know what would have made that verse better. You know I'm gonna change that melody. It hits you like 6 months, a year later. But the thing about with music is that at that point, for that type of song anyway, it's too late, right? Because the song's been created, it's been released, it's out there with the public, and although sometimes artists do re-record their songs, for the most part, that's the version, that's the song that everyone's gonna know, faults and all. But with business, that's not true, particularly with creating products. So I love to introduce people to a system that I call working in a circular motion. It's not my invention. It actually comes from a great teacher. I've come across a guy called Shane Minkus. The first person I heard use this. I don't know if it's his original invention, but it's something I've been kind of doing, so I really understood it. Because you see, a lot of people talk about going deep and wide, and there's nothing wrong with that. The funny thing is, most of these business philosophies work. In some way, they all work. So the key is, everyone sells you their one as the solution to the other one that doesn't work. Actually, they all work, usually just different circumstances or different mannerisms. So yes, it makes perfect sense to choose one thing, one particular avatar, one particular product, and go as deep as you can with that and as wide as you can with that. There's a lot of sense in that because you're focusing your energy. It's like you want to start a fire with the sun and a magnifying glass. You use this magnifying glass or the piece of glass or whatever to focus the rays of the sun to one particular point, and you can start a fire. That's the whole go deep, go wide idea. But there's also another way of working, which is kind of the way it's described as, working in more of a circular motion. And what that means is that rather being focused and going deep and wide, because deep and wide sort of often kind of insinuates, for example, doing things methodologically. I'm going to struggle to say that word, one thing at a time. So let's say, for example, you're putting out a business. First, you build the business plan, then you get your other business partners, then you start raising finances, then you look for premises, and that kind of deep and wide philosophy often comes along with an idea of doing things one thing at a time. Whereas working in a circular motion is kind of different because it gives you the flexibility to stop when you have the frustration or a frustration point in something, or when you've got it to what we like to call a minimum viable product. It's good enough, and then move on from it to another part of the process. So for example, using the same example, you may want to start a business and you may say, okay, the first thing I need to do is write my business plan. So rather than writing a 46-page business plan, you write a 3-pager, a sketch for a business plan with, other sections to be filled out. And then you're tired of writing the business plan because you hate writing business plans. Let's face it, it's boring as anything. So then you think, okay, this would be a great time. I've got a 3-pager. Let me start talking to people if they want to be my business partners. Do you want to be my CFO? Would you like to be my my operations manager? And you talk to a couple of people and you go, okay, I've got 2 people interested out of 5 positions I want to hire for. Great. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at potential premises, talking to agents, and then I'm also going to start talking to project designers. And then you get that far down the process. Like, let's say that each one of these things is making it very simple. If you drew a circle and then you made like a compass on it, north, east, south, west. So let's say you did those 4 things, you'd be back to north. And then you'd be like, okay, at this point now I've got a couple of people interested. I've got a couple of project designers I've been speaking to. I've looked at a couple of potential premises. I'm going to go and flesh out my business plan more because I've got more information to flesh out my business plan with. And then I'm going to go and speak to those 2 people who said they'd be interested in being my business partners a little further. And we are going to go and speak to the next people, the next 2 people in my hire list. And then with that done, then we're all going to go and talk to the project designers again and say, okay, this is how far we got the last time we've spoken to, but now we're looking at this type of premises. This is the kind of team, this is a team so far. And you sort of build it in a circular motion. And I love that, because the difference between that and having a strict adherence to doing things in one thing after the other in a kind of go deep, go wide motion is it gives you the flexibility to do what you can't do in a now recorded song. Because you've got the flexibility of working in a circular motion, what it allows you to do is come back to something and go, hey, I think we need to change this bridge. Or this chord progression is great in the first verse, but actually I think we should change it a bit in the second. That's what's missing. That's why the second sounds like luster. Or this is the thing that we should do to change the chorus or the second chorus to bring it to uplift it even more. Because you're working in a circular motion, you put down a basic or a blueprint or a minimum viable product or good enough or as best as you've got, but you've always got a time to come back to it. You leave yourself the option that this isn't finished, you can always come back to it. Now, marketers will totally understand this, because marketers will tell you that the answer to every question is test it. You just test it and see how it works, see how it goes down, and then you test it again. That's the key. So I love this concept of working in a circular motion. Some of the things that I promote, as I said, go deep, go wide. I don't have a problem with that. I don't play this either or game. Everyone playing the either or game is usually just trying to sell you their project or their way of doing things. Actually, they're trying to sell you their product, which comes with a methodology, which is a way of doing things, and a way that they cement that in your mind that that's the only way to do it is by dissing the other way of doing it. Actually, in most instances, most of these things work depending on you, the circumstance, or how you want to work, or your personality. But I wanted to make that point, because I do like the circular way of working. I think it suits my personality much better. I'm a broad stroke guy. I'm a creative. I get bored. So you tell me go deep, go wide. If I've got to finish a 60-page business plan before I can move on to something more interesting, I will do it, because I've actually got a very good level of discipline, but I will find it extremely boring. It won't be as good as it probably should be, and it will most definitely be better if I could get it to a minimum viable project, maybe not product, project, get it to a bare bones blueprint, move on to something more interesting, and then allow that to inspire me to come back to it and improve it.